Hi friend, David here from Learn Stage Lighting. How are you doing today? Today I want to continue our series on lighting the environment, how to really create a breathtaking and interesting environment uh, without like spending tons of money and going crazy doing it, right? In the previous videos, we talked about, first of all, 2 easy ways to add to the environment for your next event, and you can check that video out here. And then we talked about some really practical console setup tips, like things that I do anytime that I have to light an environment along with a stage, and how I make sure to really smoothly light the environment so it's not a distraction. Okay, and this is applicable to bands, churches, anything like that. Check that one out here. Now, we want to talk about lobby and entrance lighting do's and don'ts, just a couple quick things. So, the first thing that we think of when I think of like entrances, grand entrances, things like that, I think about, just grabbing a couple lights here and really want these two spots in the front. Just get rid of that. Taking a couple lights here and literally just taking them, pointing them at the entrance. Okay. This can work, but there's a couple caveats to it. Okay, this is typically if you're like a DJ and you're doing weddings, whatever, this can work really well. Now, there's a couple kind of issues with this approach. Okay, just grabbing some lights off your front truss, or from wherever, from your DJ set, from anywhere in your room, grabbing those lights, pointing them at the entrance. Okay. You've really got to be careful with this and program it well. So my first thought is like grand entrances. And this could be, a band leader making an entrance from the crowd coming through the audience. Again, a lot of times with weddings, you're going to have these grand entrances. And if you just take the lights and just point them towards the back of the room like this, just super wide, if anyone's not looking at the doors, they're instantly blinded. So this is not the best approach, okay? Instead, you definitely want to take the time to pre-program it. Go ahead in here, like with these lights, I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna zoom them, okay? Maybe your lights can't zoom, but maybe they can iris, right? And we can iris them down. Cover only that doorway area, and then maybe you create a second cue once everybody's looking that way. The people start moving forward, and you go, okay. Then we'll let it get wider. Then they start moving into the room. We create another couple cues. And that's where you make a grand entrance, whether it's for a wedding or something else. That's how you make it like really pop, because then it's like, oh, this isn't just some lights in everybody's eyes pointing at the entrance. This really creates that anticipation. If you do, like with this entrance, say we're back here still at the main doors, and I realize maybe the main doors are on the side here, right? And you're lighting those people, they're coming up. Maybe just to highlight the entrance a little more, just to give it a little extra zhuzh, I guess. Is that even a good term? You just take the uplights and make them brighter, make them white. Okay. Let's talk about lobby lighting do's and don'ts. So these same kind of principles go with lobby lighting. You really want to avoid lights at an angle that's like this low. I mean, look at these. They're coming out so low and so straight on that anyone who walks in them and sees them in their eye, they're going to be like a deer in headlights. So whether you're lighting a grand entrance, or maybe you're just taking, like we did before, some lights that are behind your stage and pointing them at your walls, right? So you're taking these and you're just pointing them at your walls, right? And now they're on your walls. There's a reason why a lot of times, instead of using a moving light in lobby type lighting, I still go back to the old style ellipsoidal, right? Because these lights, yeah, these are just a regular spot, and they don't have framing shutters, okay? And that means if these were in white or didn't have a gobo in them, anyone who's standing like anywhere near this wall is getting blinded by that light. So there's a few ways to overcome that, right? putting a gobo in helps. If you can take that gobo and you can rotate it, that's going to help as well too. If you can't do either of those and you're still looking to light the environment, then just take the lights, grab them, tilt them up, get them more on the ceiling than the walls. And most importantly, that point where the light hits the wall, get that at least like 6 feet up. So then most people would have to be really close to the wall to see like any weird flare in that off their eye. And it keeps everybody comfortable. Okay. And so this is going to apply whether you're in a lobby, lighting up the walls and the floor in a lobby. If you're lighting the floor, get those lights up as high as you can and point them down. If you can't do that, get the lights a little bit lower and point them kind of across the floor. You can even take like a simple uplight like this gamma par. Let me grab it. Right, we were talking about this one the other day. And just take it, and just like an uplight would graze the wall going straight up, graze the floor. So literally just put it across the floor and just have it sitting almost flat, right? Have it, on its yoke, sitting almost flat like this. Have it graze the floor, have it graze the grass if it's a outdoor thing, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. And then the basic gist here is whenever you're doing lobby or outdoor environmental lighting, if it's going to be somewhere where lights may get in people's eyes, you're going to get complaints. And you don't want that, right? You want everybody to be happy. Don't worry, be happy, everybody, right? And so you want to keep it out of people's eyes. And so instead of just, forgetting the concept entirely, go ahead and just make sure you're aiming the lights in a way that doesn't get them in their eyes, right? On walls, get them that 6 feet up so they're not in people's eyes. Crop it with a shutter with an ellipsoidal type fixture. Point the lights straight down at the ground or at a pretty high angle, or put the lights on the ground, like if it's a wash type light like a par, and flood the ground with light. And you just take the edge of that light as you're pointing that, and say you're pointing like, I've done these like in a tent outside, and you're pointing the path either back to a main building or to some bathrooms, okay? And you just want to point that out across the grass. When you're aiming the light, when you're actually pointing this, okay, look at the top of the light where you're pointing, and then just as you're locking it in here on the yoke, just bring it down, 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 until you see the top of that light hit the ground and pretty much go away, right before the doors to that building, the bathrooms, whatever. And that lets you know that it sticks to the ground the whole time and it's not going to be up in people's eyes. Okay, so those are my quick tips for today. I hope you've enjoyed them. If you had, be sure to like this. Let me know which of these tips from this month you're going to use in your next event. And be sure to be back next week because we've got another exciting video planned for you where we're going to talk about some different lights and do some comparison about which one could be best for you and how we could help you get them through Learn Stage Lighting gear. We'll see you guys in our next video. Thanks.